Our next speaker is Anthony Romero, who's the product marketing manager at Ustream, and he's going to talk about how media giants can deliver live video at scale. Anthony, and Ustream is going to be giving away a $200 rickshaw commuter laptop bag. So be sure that if you haven't gotten scanned, that you're scanned before the session's over, because we'll give that away at the end of the session. Thanks.
Hey everybody. So again, I'll be talking about how media giants can deliver content at scale. We'll be kind of going through that whole process in terms of actually doing the video playback element of that, and also the actual content delivery element of that as well. Now, I do tend to like to dive into my presentations, although I have done a number of them at this point where people aren't quite familiar with Ustream. So let me just give you some kind of brief background about our company and kind of what we do. We have been in this space now since about 2007, so that's, in terms of live streaming, that's quite a while at this point. We were recently acquired by IBM back in January of 2016, so that's relatively recent at this point. And our headquarters is located in San Francisco as well. Now, again, as I mentioned, we've been in this space for quite a while, so we have a really good proven track record. We do about 2 million broadcasts per month through our platform, and this is attributed largely to a very large base of users. It can go everywhere from, like, let's say, a local church to someone like a large corporations like Sony doing broadcasts to promote their products as well. And we have about 5,300 and counting customers right now that we count on our basis. And we're also the winner of the Best Streaming Platform Award here at Streaming Media, and that's the Reader's Choice Award. And that's 2013, 2014, and 2015 that we've won that as well. Now, again, if someone's unfamiliar with Ustream, I'll kind of start from a very basic element just to kind of describe the whole process. So we're basically an online, cloud-based video platform. You can log in, you can manage live channels, you can upload video content. The idea is kind of an end-to-end solution for actually delivering those video assets. There's 2 different versions of our platform. I'm going to be talking primarily about what we call our Pro version, because this is looking at kind of an external use case. We do have an internal use case called Ustream Align, and if you're more interested in that, feel free to reach us at our booth. We'll go into a lot more details on that one. But the basic process here is you're going to start at an ingest level. So you're going to give us like a live feed, RTMP, real-time messaging protocol. Can be from our browser-based encoder, can be from an app, can be from a professional product like a Teradek or a new tech unit as well. Or it can just be a video file that you're uploading too. And once you kind of get past the ingest point, then you have a lot of these management things that we kind of add to the process, be it a CMS for the video content that you're uploading, management for those multiple channels, or just doing auto archiving features as well on those live streams. We do have content restriction features, a lot of rich ones when we're talking about Align here, but even the Pro broadcasting has a lot of restriction features available for it too. We do have very basic editing that you can do in the cloud, like for example, clipping the end or clipping the beginning of that content. And then once you've kind of done with the management element, then we get to the cloud transcoding element. I'm going to talk about this one in a bit more detail in a bit, but the idea with this one is that you maybe give us like an HD stream, and we're going to allow you to reach even those lower users who have, like, let's say, a really slow connection or something like that. And we do all of that in the cloud. There is about a 15-second delay, give or take 5 seconds, depending on your distance from the publishing point. But again, the idea is that we're managing all of this process and giving you the tools to help you manage this as well. So once we kind of move from this element, we go to the delivery process. We do provide our own player. That's not uncommon for this space. Most people do. But if you're doing this yourself, like going directly with Akamai or something, it can be a benefit to have that player included in there, of course. And we'll do things like adaptive bitrate streaming, multi-CDN, and real-time analytics, and I'll talk a lot more about those first 2 in a bit. But the ultimate goal here is basically to reach any device, anywhere. And just briefly talk about the encoders here, because again, as I mentioned, any RTMP, real-time messaging protocol source will work. And we do have our own encoders, but we do encourage people to use professional ones as well, like Wirecast. vMix not shown there, but they're another one. NewTek TriCaster and Teradek on the hardware side. But the idea is any RTMP source can work, and you can of course use that to do multi-camera switching or bring in other elements to that broadcast as well. But we encourage people to use any source that they prefer if they've already have an RTMP source that they're using right now. And this gets into the actual video playback element. And again, we're providing this whole solution outside of once you kind of give us that ingest feed. And right now we have an HTML5 video player. It is white labeled. You can see the branding here. This is actually a NASA stream right there. But that's optional once you get to a higher level. You can either have the Ustream logo on there, or you can remove the Ustream logo, put your own logo in the lower right corner, totally up to you. There are also off-air settings as well. Like for example, when you're not streaming, you can have video assets running. You can just have off-air messages as well. That's up to you, customization inside the panel there. We also have rich metadata that's available. You just Control-S that to see it, kind of a little trick in the player. You can see, like, for example, when's the next frame rate or what's the frame rate going on here. It's also fully customizable with the JS API as well. And we also do have Flash fallback when needed. So, there's this big push in the industry to go to HTML5, and we really encourage that, especially as people like, Mozilla Firefox are like routinely kind of disabling older versions of Flash. That said, there's still older versions of, like, let's say, Internet Explorer that do not work with HTML5, and they still have a pretty good portion of the market. So our strategy here is just to have HTML5 as the default and then to fall back to Flash. And we're actually going to be changing that pretty soon. I think about in a couple of weeks here is when we're going to make that transition. But basically, we also have quality of service kind of built in to this product as well. The idea is it's going to switch dynamically between bit rates, which I'm going to talk about in a bit, and also CDNs as well. And this is kind of to help media giants really scale that content. And our goal here is that we want people to watch this content anywhere, regardless of their device or their connection speed too. So we're taking an RTMP feed, but of course we're not going to give an RTMP feed if they're watching, let's say, a mobile device or something like that. We will give an HLS, HTTP live streaming version, so you can watch that, Android, iPhone, iPads, etc. So the idea is you want to be able to reach somebody regardless of what device they use, but we also want to reach them regardless of what connection speed they have. If it's like a really fast connection at home, or let's say they're on their phone in a subway or something, they don't get a really great signal. And so we also want to kind of give them options to be able to watch that content. And the way we do that is through adaptive bitrate streaming. So we're basically taking that HD feed, ideally, maybe 1080 or so, and then we're creating additional bit rates for that. So the idea is, let's say that you are on your mobile phone, let's say you're on a Wi-Fi network, let's say you're kind of coming in here about the 480p version, but let's say you actually leave the house, you jump on a train to go somewhere, and then your internet connection drops. We'll also degrade the quality as well to kind of go with you, so you don't get that nasty buffering experience there. We do recommend, because of this, that you have a keyframe interval of about 2 seconds, because the way this process works is once we detect that change in connection, like in my example, once I left the house, we detect that change. If your keyframe interval is about 2 seconds, it should take about 2 seconds for us to change that quality as well. So that's why I recommend doing the 2 seconds interval there. Right now we have the 480p, the 360, and the 240 options, but we are adding the 720p option in a couple of weeks, about the same time where HTML5 is going to become the default as well. And again, all of this is kind of built around the idea of we don't want to kind of exclude any viewers, be them on a slower connection or regardless of their device as well. And now we're getting kind of the content delivery side. So we kind of talked about how we're able to reach people regardless of their device and their connection. But now it's time to talk about kind of reaching beyond, like, a really global reach, a lot of reliability. So media giants and just maybe even smaller broadcasters can really reach their audience. Now, a lot of people, if they've done streaming before, they're probably familiar with content delivery networks. The idea is, basically servers all over the world. We want to kind of reduce that distance between, the viewer and the server in this case. So really reduce that latency, because there's a lot of packets and other information we have to send in order to do live streaming, or even on-demand streaming for that reason. But it does have improved reliability for that reason, because we want to reduce that latency. So when we do get a missing packet, the idea is we send that new packet before the kind of player catches up with them and has to buffer that content. So it does have improved reliability, it does have improved global reach as well. But we take it kind of a step beyond at Ustream. We have multi-content delivery networks. So we use our own CDN, for example. We also use Akamai, we use Limelight. We use a total of 5 CDNs. For example, like Ustream, let's say we're not as strong in parts of Asia, so we have a partner that does that. So it does improve that global reach, but it also improves the reliability of our service as well. So, I'm sure everyone's heard, like, for example, maybe there's like a famous broadcast, like let's say the Grammys or like, HBO, they're announcing like a new show or something, and they get a mass eyeballs, and let's say it goes down. Most CDNs, should be built to kind of accommodate for that. Doesn't always happen. Our goal here is if that does happen, we'll just fall back to a different CDN. And again, this is all kind of built into the platform. You don't have to sign up directly with any CDNs. We do all that kind of legwork for you. The idea is, we're offering basically a backup solution to your delivery process. And we call this kind of SD-CDN, which stands for Software Defined CDN. And again, our goal here is that we're basically having our built-in backups that we provide for you. So, as a media giant, you deliver that content. You want a lot of people watching it. We're giving you the global reach, but we're also giving you that reliability factor, because we don't ever want that stream to go down. That's our ultimate goal here. And we have automatic scaling that's done through adding and removing those edges. So again, we're able to scale that content really nicely. And we have done proven global scale on this model as well. A couple years back at this point, Sony did the PlayStation 4 launch over us. I think they got about 1.5 million concurrent viewers with this model as well. And again, this goal here is we want to reach that audience. We never want to have this content go down, and we want to be able to do that on a global scale too. Primarily, those is an external solution. We do have something that's internal facing as well. This one is mostly for corporations that also do internal streaming on top of their external solutions. For example, the New York State Senate, they use this one. They're actually doing external streaming, so they'll do the streaming inside the courthouse, but they have a lot of people inside that courthouse who needs to actually get access to that content as well. So what we're able to provide is we're going to install basically a virtual appliance inside the courthouse using that same example. It works behind the firewalls, but it's able to scale really nicely so that everybody in that courthouse can watch that content while it's still going global as well. So if you don't have an ECDN solution or something like this, you're going to get a lot of bottlenecks around a certain point. So CDNs are great. They deliver that content at scale really nicely, but you can always run into issues where, for example, let's say you have 50 viewers, 45 viewers. They're all trying to gain access to the same live streaming asset, and let's say their download speed is 5 megabytes per second in this example, 10 megabytes per second, and they just don't have the bandwidth, unfortunately, to access all of that at once. And as you can see here, it's creating kind of a nasty octopus kind of bottleneck here that's not able to deliver that content. And so what ECDN does, it's a virtualized CDN edge. Tongue-tied, sorry. CDNs basically work where there's an origin server, there's edge servers. This functions where it basically installs an edge server kind of locally inside that corporate network. And the idea is it's able to cache very nicely a single version of that asset and basically deliver it at scale. So maybe the combined bandwidth for that one is maybe 2 megabytes per second. It's an HD stream, maybe 2 megabytes per second. And the total bandwidth here is about 5 megabytes per second on the download speed. Normally that'd be a nightmare. You could get maybe 2 or 3 people watching that content. With this one, we're able to scale really nicely. So everyone within that corporate network is able to watch that asset. So we get maybe 100 people, 200 people watching that. And even though they're all watching at HD content, we're able to deliver that really successfully through this model. But I do want to kind of emphasize this is an optional component here. For a lot of people, especially for media giants doing external streaming only, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But if you're in the same scenarios, like for example, the New York State Senate, where this is content, like let's say maybe it's the CEO doing a presentation, it's going to be both external and internal facing, and there's a desire to have the whole company watching that stream. Something like ECDN makes a lot of sense to kind of combine those two models together. And this does scale very nicely inside an internal network. It does have a web-based interface as well. It's all done in the cloud. It's a SaaS-based software as a service model. So when we do updates to the Ustream platform, we also do updates to ECDN. So like, for example, adaptive bitrate streaming works just as nicely with ECDN. When we launch new features, they'll also be compatible with ECDN. The idea is we're giving a higher quality video experience because they can do HD streaming when they normally maybe have not at that volume level. And we're also able to kind of accommodate all of the features that we kind of integrate naturally into the Ustream platform. And again, this is kind of an optional component of our products, but this is kind of the last kink in terms of delivering completely at scale, either outside or inside your network for your corporation. And that just about does it for me. I think I talked a little bit faster than I normally do. But if anybody has any questions on the presentation, happy to field those as well.
On the microphone. If not, give me 30 seconds to go select the winner of the messenger bag.
Are your primary clients using your platform as an event-based kind of video streaming kind of activity?
In terms of what I talked about today, it would be primarily event-based. We've seen a lot of product launches over us. We've seen a lot of sports, music, concerts, et cetera. When I'm talking about ECDN, the line, that's a totally different product. I see a lot of training assets, e-learning stuff. But if we're talking in terms of scale, global broadcast, a lot of live streaming is done for events and stuff like that.
All right, it's Jeff Bethea from Philly Cam in the room. Jeff, you're the winner. Congratulations.